Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free, in the home of the brave, on a beautiful March the 20th, 2019. Big C, happy spring.
Charlton, spring. What does that mean? Is it still cold? You said spring. I thought you wanted me to jump or something. Because I woke up this morning and there was frost on the ground.
Yeah.
And not only that, it was opening day of Major League Baseball for some reason.
Yeah, the good old boys in Japan. They followed Big C Sports in Japan. They were playing the A's. You know, I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, why's Big? Did I sleep in? No, they play at a different time clock in Japan, but a lot of good old things happening in the sports universe. March Madness started really, last night, yesterday, and had two teams play their way in, and then everybody gets going really on Thursday. But I want to say happy spring to everybody. It may not seem like it because parts of the Midwest is flooding, and I just want to say we hope that not only thoughts and prayers, but we hope that maybe FEMA can step in earlier and help a lot of people so they don't have to struggle as long.
It may not be no money for FEMA. Remember that the president declared that it was a national emergency.
Wow.
Trying to build a border wall.
Yeah.
So all that money that FEMA uses, Charlton, which is part of the Army Corps of Engineers,
yeah,
that they use for rebuilding and reclamation projects, Charlton,
yeah,
that money is solely needed now for American citizens. I wonder how do they feel that do we need a wall or do we need our cities rebuilt, Charlton?
That's a very good question, and every person has to pay attention to that. I want to say this show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a host of Cadillac cars. I want to ask you, because in California, we've had fires. They call them wildfires. Some people say it's not a wildfire, that was started by a barbecue grill not being put out. Some people say no, it was electrical lines that hit the ground and they were not probably serviced by PG&E and other utility companies. Other people say it's caused by lightning. That would be a wildfire when it's caused by lightning, not by a barbecue grill or a utility company not cleaning up a power line that fell down. But when I think about the beautiful weather here in California, and then I watched the news. I think it was Al Roker I was watching from the NBC Today show. I've been watching Al Roker for years. And they talked about that flooding in the Midwest. We have baseball starting up. We have NBA, happening right in the thick of things for the playoff run. But we are so fortunate, Big C, when we are not caught up in the recovery missions that a lot of people have to deal with. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we are very fortunate. And, it's a hardship for Americans who are caught in this situation, Charlton, but as the president and the current administration says, there's no such thing as global warming.
Yeah.
That these people are living a hoax. That that there's really no problems. But I'll go back to my opening statement, Charlton. All this cry about this border wall, that it's a national emergency. We have emergencies in America every month, Charlton, that call for all of America's resources to be put into.
Yeah.
And we can go back to even last year, Charlton, if we remember the hurricanes that were down in Puerto Rico and St. Thomas, Charlton.
That's right.
Which are American territories.
Yeah.
All of those people still do not have electricity, Charlton, in Puerto Rico. That island is only about up to 80% capacity right now. We even think about the devastation that happened down in the Gulf Coast and down in Houston, Charlton. Yeah. The natural devastation and down in the Florida Panhandle, Charlton. The president is not saying that we need to replenish and rebuild our American cities and infrastructure, Charlton. He is talking about building a wall.
Yeah.
And Americans are living in devastation, Charlton. We're talking about Americans that are directly affected where he's talking about this border wall, especially in Texas, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's forgotten all about the good people of Texas, saying that they don't need to rebuild, and the good people of Florida, which is a Republican state, Charlton, that saying they don't need to rebuild. He needs to have this wall. He needs to have this fixture for his lifetime, Charlton, to say, I built the wall.
Well, and when I saw, a lot of veterans live in the Midwest because it's more affordable. There are more veterans that live. I didn't count, but I'm just going to assume. And you know what they say, what happens when you assume. But I'm going to assume that because this cost of living is a lot cheaper in Kansas than it is in California, and it's a lot cheaper in Missouri than it is in New York. I'm going to assume that more veterans live in the Midwest. And when I see people that are just devastated, Big C, it's devastation, and it's hard to even conceive because we've had more attention put on the wall, or Mike Trout signing for $430 million, than those people who've lost everything. And I want to just get your thoughts on something, because it's true. When we declare a national disaster, no matter what base you're on, if you're one of those individuals caught up in the national disaster talk about the wall needing to be built and billions of dollars given to it, and you're trying to get your family's belongings out and your family, what really should our president be focused on? I know we have sports, and sports it takes our attention away. But how do we even solve this problem to stop saying this wall is an issue when there are thousands of people, even from Puerto Rico, that still have not recovered? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think it comes down to those people that voted for him, saying that they need a wall. Do they really need a wall? I mean, if they had a barrier up around their house, like a levee,
yeah,
and some river reinforcement, Charlton, along those banks,
yeah,
may not have had that flooding.
Yeah.
That money comes from the Army Corps of Engineers, where he's talking about taking away Army construction money. So if all this money is going to the border, what about the American citizens, Charlton, who pay their taxes every year?
Yeah.
Every month on their paychecks. Now your money is going to a place that's not going to aid you whatsoever. When people say that crime and, devastation comes from south of the border, drug infestation, Charlton, that's just lack of education and knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, so who creates the devastation, Charlton, from the tornadoes, from the floods, from the earthquakes, from the wildfires, as you mentioned in California? Who creates the rain, Charlton, that creates havoc in this country? And the snow melting, Charlton, who creates all that?
Yeah.
That's Mother Nature, Charlton. Is he going to build a wall against Mother Nature and say we're not going to have any more of your devastation on American citizens?
Well, I think that's really a shame what's going on, with those families down there. And we just hope, again, that FEMA steps in, Army Corps of Engineers, whoever can help out, we hope that they'd help out. We know what's happened in California when they were out here, and people lost everything. And I know March Madness takes our mind off it, but if you're one of those families caught up in that, you can't focus on anything other than how do you actually help your family. Big C, I want to cover something that it caught my mind this morning. I know everybody loves sports, even POTUS loves sports, but I had to look at it twice. I tell you, I was watching Al Roker this morning on the Today Show, the news program. I love when he does weather because it covers the whole country, and he's been doing it a long time. But I saw in one of their lead-ups, I saw Kellyanne Conway kiss POTUS on the lips. I saw Kellyanne Conway in a red dress, and she kissed the president on the mouth, not on the cheek. Now, we're in the Me Too movement. She's also married. We know he's married. It doesn't matter to him. And all's fair in love and war. So maybe we shouldn't even concern ourselves with what married people do. But I saw her husband had some terse things to say about POTUS. Okay, it came out on the internet. But I know I saw because I froze it with my DVR. She kissed him right on the lips in this Me Too movement. Now, would that be considered sexual harassment if someone at GM or someone at NBC News did it? Matt Lauer, a.k.a. your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I couldn't feel the cry back if it had been President Obama, Charlton.
Yeah.
Kissing an aide in the mouth. We saw what happened with President Clinton.
Yeah.
He was impeached.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess this has come to norm with President Trump, Charlton, when we look at the number of women who have filed suits against him for sexual harassment, sexual misconduct.
Yeah.
And we also saw last year, Charlton, Kellyanne Conway with her feet up on the sofa.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I guess one thing leads to another. From what I've always known, Charlton, if a woman will put her feet on your sofa when she's at your house, she'll normally kiss you in the mouth.
Okay. Now, You're an alpha male. I don't think anybody would mistake you for not being an alpha male, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know.
Wait, let me go find the mirror somewhere. Let me make sure who you're talking to.
Well, you still got a lot of guys have championship trophies. Not only do you have championship trophies and rings, but you got some bent up face masks that you didn't want to return after the holding off. But I understand. But if you're a man, and some men don't care, you can walk up and kiss their wife; they couldn't care less. But how? And this is any woman out there, because we're in this politically correct time. But honestly, if you see your spouse at work and you see her kissing her boss on the lips, does that bother women? Because we're in the Me Too movement where people are being sued over that behavior, and sometimes if you're the boss, you have power over the employee, but we know that he's her boss. And I know people may say, oh, she kisses everybody on the mouth. Maybe she does. Maybe she thought she was on the, what's that show called? The
Apprentice?
The Apprentice. Yeah, they're trying to, The Apprentice.
No, The Bachelor.
Both of them, they still kissing people, both shows.
But they're married.
Exactly. So I'm asking the honestly question. If you saw your significant other, your spouse, girlfriend, or whatever, kissing her boss on the mouth in a climate where men are being sued for that, even years later, what would you say to Kellyanne Conway? I think her husband is upset. That's why he's saying things about the president, because he knows what's really going on behind closed doors. Your thoughts?
First off, it's inappropriate behavior from our commander-in-chief to be kissing a subordinate that's not his wife in the mouth on national television, Charlie. Yeah, and you know, he was elected on inappropriate behavior.
Yeah.
So when we look at his base, this is something that they don't mind. They'll say, well, you know, that's not an issue.
Yeah.
Adultery's not an issue with him. He's proven that, Charlie, because he's willing to pay over, 6 figures for adultery.
Yeah.
You know, so this is his MO. We've seen that from his first wife, his second wife, now his third wife, and whoever else he decides to be involved with.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you're running our country, Charlton, we used to have the White House be a place of prestige and dignity and character and class.
At least in public.
But now it's become a classless place.
Yeah. Well, we know that Kennedy did a lot of things with Marilyn Monroe and whomever else he wanted to. You know, a lot of people did their things, but they did it in private. And I want to because I'm talking to women. I'm talking to women who want to get a job, and they want to get us, even in the sports business. We know a lot of people in the sports industry, they've been accused of whatever they've been accused of. Bob Kraft is one of them. He's in the news, and he's Donald Trump's friend. At least he sits in his, what do you call it, the luxury suite? When they have
his luxury suite, his owner suite.
At Gillette Stadium. So if you're a girl, and we've heard them say what they have to do to get a job, and a lot of us don't want to talk about it because it's painful. But I also, when I saw that, because I froze it, because it shocked me. And they were even holding hands. Now, you say, well, why are you making such a big deal about it? I'm making a big deal out of it because men have lost their jobs over accusations, okay? And for women who are trying to ascend into the workforce, you know, men have not been told, pull down your pants if you want this job. And I'm not being flippant, I'm being serious. So when a woman...
Well, in today's society... Yeah. I'd have to question that depending on who you are.
That's true too.
We have a change of things these days.
It goes both ways, and I just wonder from the commander-in-chief of what, obviously, but while it's okay for the Republican Party, we fought the gentleman that he was exiled from a mall down in the South. They banned him from the mall. We know when he was...
Roy Moore down in Alabama, who was the president-backed, for molesting and sexually harassing young girls, Charlie.
Yep, and Kellyanne Conway should know that. But sometimes what you do in private comes out in the public. So when she was holding his hands on TV and they gave each other a kiss on the mouth, and then her husband, who's being passive-aggressive, instead of putting a stop to it, he's tweeting negative things about the president that the president doesn't like. I just want to get now, if I can't be a woman, but speaking for women, can they keep looking to her as a staunch advocate for what is right for women who are trying to get a job in the White House or try to ascend in corporate America? Because it's also in the sports business, a.k.a. Robert Kraft. What message is Kellyanne Conway sending to other women, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this has become the new face of our administration, to do things that are inappropriate, to lie every day.
Yeah.
We've become accustomed to that. We've almost become immune to it because it's not expecting what the president or the administration is going to say, Charlton. It's what lie they're going to say.
Yeah.
How are they going to try to mislead the American public, Charlton? This is what we've come about in our current society, Charlton, in dealing with that.
Yeah.
And so when we look out and we expect class and dignity and leadership, Charlton, this is not where we're going to get it from, is the old office.
Yeah.
It's not going to occur.
Yeah, well, I hope that, because I saw it, I have it on my DVR, I just hope that women see that. Sometimes you can't listen to the people who are telling you they're backing someone who does bad things, because if they tacitly consent to it, it doesn't change. Why did I bring up Kellyanne Conway and POTUS, okay? And then her husband. And then sports, it all ties in together. Bob Kraft, his attorney filed a motion to suppress evidence against him in the prostitution sting in Florida. Now, what is sports and politics mix? We just told you POTUS, when he goes to Gillette Stadium, he doesn't buy a ticket. He sits in the press box or the luxury suite of Bob Kraft. A lot of I think the lady that owned the parlor down in Florida, she's been a contributor to POTUS. Okay? They all run in the same circles. So if attorney filed a motion to suppress evidence, Big C, what does it mean when an attorney files motion to suppress evidence? Your thoughts?
Well, Robert Kraft means that he's accepted the plea deal, Charlton, that was offered by the state attorney general office down in Florida, who's a good friend of the president.
Yeah.
And so he's going to admit that he would have been convicted if he had gone to trial, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so by doing that and taking this plea deal, Charlton, they filed a motion today to suppress the evidence. That means that the public will never see the light of the day of the videotape that would have convicted Robert Kraft.
Wow.
But, this is what money will do for you, Charlton. You commit a crime, it becomes publicized, but you're a wealthy individual, Charlton, and you can strike a deal with prosecutors.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the NFL, Charlton, today, Kelly, the quarterback that was out of Mississippi that was with the Denver Broncos that was charged last year with criminal trespassing for entering somebody's house, he cut a plea deal, Charlton, but his record was not expunged, Charlton.
Yeah.
He still has to do his community service and serve fine. He didn't, engage in, human trafficking and prostitution, Charlton.
Right.
He went onto somebody's property, lost his job. Think about that. You fire a player, Charlton, who has some misconduct, but as an owner, you suppress all the evidence.
Yeah.
There'll never be an opportunity for players to have fairness.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I'm not comparing the two, but they both hit the media right about the same time. I don't know what's going on with the R. Kelly situation. I don't know, but they both have issues against women against their will, or in a situation where they have power over women. And again, Gloria Allred, you're one of the biggest staunch attorneys out there that defends. Well, I can't say you can defend. If black men are accused, you tend to stand there with the person doing the accusing. But when you see white men accused, I haven't seen you stand up. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to Google that. But I'm just looking out for young girls. We have a March Madness starting on the men and women's circuit. And I want to make sure that they at least can see what I saw. It was shocking to me, especially in this environment. I want to bring up something also, because it goes both ways. And we love sports. In fact, we love it so much we talk about it every day. But I want to bring up, before we even get to the sports thing, because there's still a lot of talk in Northern California about what happened to Clark, Stephon Clark, who tragically his life came to an end 22 times, shot by law enforcement officers. And I know a lot of people are marching still and having conversations. There's even laws being passed to help, make it more difficult for police officers to shoot, and I agree with that. I say treat black men like they're white, and there'll be less shootings. White Americans get shot too. But I got to bring up this point. Just today, actually, it was yesterday in Northern California, there was a house burglary. It was caught on tape. This is for all the criminals that listen. Everything you do is being videotaped. When you walk in a city, especially in Europe, but more so in the United States, even more so, every street camera is put in the street lights. And you ever wonder, how do they show police chases whenever it happens, or a crime, or a crash, or anything? And they always show it from an aerial view. It's not a helicopter. Helicopters move around a lot. They're coming from the street like everything has a camera. So these knuckleheads, which happen to be people of color from what I can see, they didn't have their whole bodies covered. They come walking out of the house with the bags of junk. They even had a gun in one hand. It was two men. They were dumb enough to have someone pull up in a car, and they went and closed the door and got into the car and took off. It's all on tape. The reason I say that, Big C, because as African Americans, and I know it's not popular to say this, we spend so much time marching and pleading for people who are doing stupid things like breaking the law, destroying someone's property, and ultimately losing your life, which is a tragedy. And now it's happened again, but no one's marching for the people who were robbed. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's what we talked about in the show. When there's a problem, who do you call? 911. You call the police. You want the guys in blue and green to show up at your property, Charlton. We talked about that with Stephon Clark. What was he doing the night of his death, Charlton? He was alleged to be committing crimes.
Yeah.
He was being followed on infrared camera by a helicopter, Charlton.
Yeah.
Which they just don't do if you lost a dog. They don't go out there with a helicopter tracking you across blocks within the city.
Yep.
But, here's a brazen attack at Charlton on somebody's personal property. Now, who knows? I don't know what was the nationality of the people, Charlton, that were robbed, but I'm quite sure that the number that they called was 911, Charlton.
Exactly.
Seeking law enforcement.
Yeah.
But, are the people going to march in any city, Charlton, when a citizen's place is robbed and they're threatened and they're terrorized, Charlton? Are they going to go out and march for those people, Charlton, because those people lost their personal property? And yes, personal property can be replaced. But what if they'd have went in there and physically harmed those people, Charlton? What if they'd have assassinated one of those people in the home, Charlton?
Yeah.
These are the things that people don't look at. We look at the incident, Charlton, when police officers unfortunately have to take someone's life. And I know it's a tough situation for them, Charlton. And I've been at the situation, Charlton, where I've been for fear of my life, Charlton, from police officers. I've been laying in the street. I've had the guns drawn on me, Charlton, but I complied, and I lived.
Yeah.
Did I feel that they were wrong for what they were doing? Yes, Charlton, because I had not committed a crime. But I fit the M.O. of somebody that they were looking for because I was a black man in the same color car that their sailors were in, Charlton. So that's all they needed. If I'd have been a white guy in the same color car, Charlton, and a white guy that committed a crime, would I have gotten pulled over at gunpoint? Probably not, Charlton.
Yeah.
Probably not. But I did. But it comes back to the upbringing of my parents, Charlton.
Yeah.
And the education that I had received, Charlton, in growing up as a young man and even as an adult, about learning how to comply, to conform, to survive.
Yeah.
I went into survival mode, Charlton. I didn't get into that I want to leave this earth mode.
Yeah.
I went into survival mode.
Yeah.
I did everything that they told me to do. If they told me to speak, I spoke. If they didn't tell me to speak, I didn't speak, Charlton.
Yeah.
When they told me to take 3 or 4 steps back, I took those, Charlton.
Yeah.
When they told me to get down on my knees, I got down on my knees with my fingers locked behind my back, Charlton. Even though my knees were bad, Charlton, had multiple surgeries on them.
Yeah.
Shoulder was destroyed. I complied, even though the pain I was in. And that day, Charlton, it was 98 degrees.
Yeah.
So I know the asphalt was 115 to 120 degrees.
Yeah.
But I complied. I could withstand the heat, Charlton, of Mother Nature instead of withstanding the heat of those bullets that they would have fired from their gun. If I had sneezed, Charlton, or one of those officers probably got a mosquito in his face, who knows what would have happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I complied and I lived, Charlton. I lived. I got released. But I lived. That was the thing. And this is what I want all young African-American men to realize. You should want to live more than what you want to be a bad dude, Charlton.
Amen to that.
Because the cemetery is full of a lot of guys that were young, that had an attitude. They went away. You don't get old by being no fool.
There's
a lot of young wise men, Charlton, that are in the cemetery.
Yeah.
And so be intelligent. Parents, educate your children to conform with law enforcement. Not like the guys that you saw, Charlton, breaking into somebody's private property.
No, I
vandalizing someone's home, taking what they've worked for and earned.
Yeah.
Now, how would you feel if you were that parent that these burglars went into your home and they come in and physically assault you? Are you going to call 911? Or are you going to call another criminal down the street and say, hey, come help me?
That's a very good point, Big C. Even living in a gated community, I've had law enforcement come up on me and, surround me. But I just complied. But what else could you do? But my parents taught me how to live, and that's why we're still doing the Big C Sports Show today. And so I just want to give my PSA out there. I know there are a lot of churches that I'm involved with and a lot of activists that are in Northern California, Southern California. And I'm just asking them to, and they may or may not, I'm asking them also, it's okay to just say we need, laws to stop us from being harmed by any person, law enforcement, civilian, etc. But we also got to put in that moment about how to survive. I love what you said. You don't get old by being a fool. I've heard that said by many older people that I know, and we got to teach that to our young people. Marching is not going to change anything if we don't talk about compliance with law enforcement officers. That will help us live longer, Big C. I think that's important. At the same time that the Clark family, they're still asking for, whatever they're asking for, and that's what the courts are for. There were 2 African-American men who were robbed. I think it was Texas A&M Commonwealth, one of the programs down in Texas. And there's no one, and they were going to college trying to do the right thing. Big C, there was no one marching that these 2 college kids were shot. I don't think they were fatally shot, but they were still shot, and they're trying to go to college. They were doing nothing wrong. There's no one marching for them. No one's flying into town. It's not breaking news on every outlet, and they were doing the right thing. So why is doing the wrong thing that ends in tragedy get more attention than someone doing the right thing, and they also have to deal with their own tragedy? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, these were two athletes from Texas A&M Commonwealth. They were on spring break down in Florida, Charlton, which so many college students do. Charlton, they were being assaulted and robbed, okay?
Yeah.
They were being assaulted and robbed. They weren't bothering anybody. They were just having fun. Just because they had some jewelry on, Charlton, others felt that they could take advantage of them, Charlton, and they shot these young men over jewelry, over personal effects. And this is what we were just talking about going into that home, Charlton.
Yeah.
These are young men in public, Charlton, that their lives are not safe. But who came to aid them, Charlton? First responders and police officers. Okay?
Yeah.
These are the first men on the scene to try to help save their lives, Charlton.
Yeah.
First responders and police officers come to their aid. They weren't shot by police officers, Charlton, so you're not going to get this outrage from the black community. And ironically, it was two black men who shot them, Charlton.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're not going to get this cry from the black community saying, well, you know, this is wrong, this is a tragedy, this is happening so often. Charlton, it happens every day. Go to Chicago.
Yeah.
It happens every day. Go to Detroit. It happens every day. Go to New York. Go to Los Angeles, Charlton. It happens every day.
Yeah.
And we don't get marches, Charlton, from the African-American community about black men shooting black men in America. That's acceptable. They become immune to that. It's almost like the president telling lies, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're immune to it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're the first to have a protest up and down the street, close up businesses, Charlton,
Yeah.
because they're upset.
Yeah.
But think about it, Charlton. They take the young people out of school,
Yeah.
and they have them marching up and down the street. Well, they should be in school getting an education, Charlton.
Yeah.
Keeping up their GPA so that they don't end up in the Stephon Clark situation, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is what the biggest problem is that we want to call for march. We want to call for, you know, a call for justice.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a stance that they want to take, Charlton? This Stephon Clark, how long will this resonate? It will be there for this week with Al Sharpton in town, you know, having this peaceful protest.
He flew out already. He already flew out.
Okay, but truly, what are they protesting, Charlton? Did they protest about Stephon Clark not being at work, not being at home? That he had the right to vandalize others' property, Charlton, before his life ended? Did they talk about that during the protest? We only talk about the end product of something.
Yeah.
We don't talk about what leads up to it. It's just like watching one of these sports highlight shows on television, Charlton. We see the end product of an athlete who's become a professional.
Yeah.
Not what built up and what allowed him to become a professional, Charlton. From a young boy or a young girl, Charlton, going through all the proper procedures of training, listening to coaches,
Yeah.
nutrition, working out, getting good grades, Charlton. And key thing right there, getting good grades.
Yeah.
But listening to adults, Charlton. It's a tragedy that the young man Stephon Clark lost his life, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
But let's put together his entire life. Let's put the whole track together. Because I'm tired of parents saying, well, he was trying to get his life together. So why didn't you help him get his life together from his childhood?
Yeah.
Why didn't you make sure that you steered him in the right direction? When he was changing, he was going to trade school. You know, he was trying to get his GED. Okay, it only takes 4 years to get a high school diploma.
Yeah.
You don't need to be applying for a GED, Charlton.
Yeah.
Go to class every day. Stop ditching class. Stop trying to find alternatives to living properly, Charlton.
Yeah.
These are the things that parents, you know, I'm tired of hearing them say, that he was trying to get his life on track.
Yeah.
You know, my life was on track the whole time, Charlton. I grew up in Jim Crow, as you mentioned many times.
Yeah.
I grew up with both of my parents working 2 jobs all the time, Charlton. We didn't have parenting in the house 24 hours a day.
No.
We didn't have somebody sitting around watching talk shows and soap operas and you know, saying, go fix yourself a sandwich to eat.
Right.
When we got out of school, Charlton, we went to my grandmother's house and my great-grandmother's house. And we stayed there till one of our parents picked us up.
Yeah.
And they took us home at night and made sure that our homework was done, Charlton. This was after 11 o'clock at night. But it was important for them to have their children in their home at night, Charlton.
Yeah.
But they were in a safe place prior to going home
Yeah.
with a grandparent or a great-grandparent. But the first thing they wanted to know was the homework done, because if the homework wasn't done, Charlton, even after 11 p.m. at night, you were going to get up and do your homework.
Yeah.
Because that was your job as a child.
Yeah.
To do your homework, get a good grade. And I'll always remember, Charlton, as a child, you know, when we got an A on our report card, Charlton,
yeah.
we got $1.
Yeah.
If we got a B, we got 50 cents, okay?
Yeah.
If we got a C, we got a quarter.
Yeah.
If we got a D, we got a belt. And I can say that. We got a belt back in those days. And I think the discipline that the legal system has taken away from parents, Charlton,
yeah.
that you can't discipline children, that's what's fueling the prison population, Charlton. Because you have children growing up without discipline. They want to label it as child abuse now.
Right.
It is not child abuse, Charlton. It is discipline when you discipline your child for an improper action. That's
yep.
not child abuse.
Well, it used to
be. Child abuse is neglecting your children, not feeding them, Charlton, starving them, locking them in a closet forever, Charlton, chaining them to a bed. That's child abuse.
Yeah.
But disciplining your child so that the police don't have to shoot them, that is not child abuse, Charlton.
I agree, and it's a certain. I know we want to know how many points LeBron James scored, and what's Kobe Bryant's thought on who's the greatest and all that jazz, and did Mike Trout really sign $400 million, or is that check going to bounce? We don't know, but I just want to make sure for young people of color, because it's still a hot topic, that we just teach our kids to comply so they can live to see the next day. Also, one more thing that I want to just throw in before we talk a few more sports things, and everybody's different. This can, I guess, the use of marijuana being passed in most states now for the money, it's for the taxes. It's not because they want society to round around with it. There's some studies that are showing that it's not the same marijuana from the 60s. The potency was 4% then. It's about 97% now, because a lot of it's manufactured chemicals. So when you go out and take your job interview and they do a test, depending on what job you take, if you got certain stuff in your system, then that will make you unemployable. People just got to know that, and it's not really being talked about because corporations, private prisons are one of the fastest growing populations in the United States as far as the workforce. And since POTUS became president, the stocks from private prisons, Big C, skyrocketed. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but it's true. So when you think you want to go out and get high because they may legalize it, when you take that drug test, we know what happens to athletes, Big C. When they test positive, or a boxer tests positive for something illegal, then they're banned from that. I just want people to be aware of that. Sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. Big C, last night, NCAA basketball, I guess when you watch these play-in games, it's not like watching the Final Four. It's like another money grab, and it's good for a team like Belmont. You know, they beat Temple last night, 81-70. Fairleigh Dickinson defeated Prairie View A&M, 82-76. But did they really win? If you're on the outside getting in, and they sometimes getting unbarred here in the Bay Area, the doors are about to close. You try to squeeze two more people through the doors, Big C. Do you really get a good seat on BART when you do that, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we don't have a BART here. You know, I have a big SUV that I like to drive around, so I can squeeze through the door on that. But, you know, when I look at these players forced to play one more game, Charlton, I think it's an unjust situation, especially to the teams that are losing, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because you're forced into this.
Yeah.
And you're not gaining anything from it, Charlton. You get an extra game that you have to work for free.
Yeah.
You get no sweatsuits. You get no new sneakers, Charlton. You get no cap. You don't get to cut down the net.
No.
But the television revenue, Charlton, is still generated. The universities are getting paid.
Yep.
The young men have this one game. Why do you have a selection committee, Charlton, when you're supposed to pick the best 64 teams in the country, and it takes you 2 extra games, Charlton, on Tuesday, 2 extra, and there's 2 more games tonight to get it down to 64. So you're forcing these teams to play these extra games. Why? You couldn't get it all right on Sunday?
Yep. Sometimes they couldn't get it all right. It's a money grab, Big C. It's just like private prisons. They're legalizing everything that young kids can get in their bodies. So when you go for a job, you get turned down for a job. So if you can't get a real job, some people resort to crime. When you resort to crime, where do they put you? Sometimes they put you in the penitentiary, Big C, and I just want people to pay attention to that, especially young kids of color. All of our parents for the most part, they don't have, who's that lady, Paris Hilton? They don't have tens of millions of dollars to go get the best attorneys to keep you out of trouble. I just want to make sure we know that, and it's just always important as an African American father to say that, because they don't normally hear it elsewhere. And it's always important for me to say that, Big C. I want to also touch on in the fact that we have March Madness coming up, and everybody wants to see who the best team is going to be. But there's someone that I saw on television on a sports program, and he didn't go to college. He went from high school into the NBA because he was that good. And he played over 20 years. Now, the great thing about this gentleman, he's becoming as successful after his playing days as he was during his playing days. Maybe not money-wise, but his compass is still going north. He's not looking in the past. Kobe Bryant, I heard him on a show, and someone asked him a question about where he stood, where he ranks in the pantheon of greatness. Was it he, Michael Jordan, or LeBron James? And Kobe says something that I hope every African-American boy hears. He says, when I retired that stuff. That's on the shelf. I was fortunate to play 20 years. I'm focused on the next 20 years of my life, not an argument of who the best player. I thought that was very salient, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, it's true. I was asked last week by some gentlemen that knew me from when I was playing, and they said, why don't you wear your rings? I'm like, that's 30-plus years ago. What am I going to do with those rings?
Yeah.
I don't need to walk around and identify myself. I'm confident in what my accomplishments were when I was a player. It would be like me walking around, Charleston, putting my trophy case in a wagon. Okay?
Yeah.
Said, okay, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Me wearing my Letterman jacket from high school or college, Charleston,
Yeah.
said, hey, remember me.
Can yours
I
still
don't want
fit?
to be an anonymity, Charleston.
Yeah.
I don't want people to know who I am.
Yeah.
I just want to walk through society, Charleston. And if you were invited to my home, then you would see these things.
Yeah.
But I'm not inviting the public in.
Yeah.
But Charleston, for the sportscasters out there, they created all these images about who's the greatest.
Yeah.
Who's the greatest. And you ask these players, Charleston, they're not seeking out the limelight, but it's mainly white media who is living vicariously
through
these
past.
former black athletes,
Yeah.
Charleston.
Yeah.
They're, trying to pick up all this vitriol.
Yeah.
They're almost like they're trying to create a hate-mongering between the black athletes.
Yep.
Because I don't hear any of these white broadcasters, even black broadcasters, going after Terry Bradshaw. I don't hear them going after Joe Montana. Saying, hey, Tom Brady's better than you. You'll never hold, he'll never hold your mantle, or vice versa.
Right.
Even though you were the first to accomplish such feats. No one blasts, Bart Starr, who was the first quarterback to win 2 championships. And when you think about the older players, Charleston, they don't even want to get into the conversation.
No.
They say, and they're like me. It's like, for what? What are we talking about?
Yep.
We're talking about athletes. Jim Brown doesn't walk up and down the street saying, I'm the greatest running back ever.
Right.
Eric Dickerson doesn't do it.
No.
You don't see Barry Sanders out there, saying, hey, me, or even Evan Smith, who's all-time leading rusher.
Yeah.
Saying, I'm the greatest ever.
Yeah.
These guys don't have to do it, Charleston. You don't hear Bruce Smith, over 200 sacks in the NFL, saying that I'm the best. They're trying to compare Lawrence Taylor against somebody. Derek Thomas was better than Lawrence Taylor.
He was.
Lawrence just happened to play in New York.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
But we don't get that cry, Charleston, about white athletes. I mean, you look at how the media right now is beating up LeBron James.
Yeah.
Saying that he is the demise of the Los Angeles Lakers.
He's not.
Has anybody looked in Pittsburgh lately, Charleston, at the Pittsburgh Steelers? Has
Yeah.
any white media looked in that direction? They haven't made the playoffs in 2 years, Charleston.
No.
Their best 2 offensive weapons, Charleston, over that time are no longer with the franchise.
Yeah.
But the disgruntled quarterback who said he doesn't know if he still has a love for this game and he wants to retire.
I remember that.
And you think about it. He said this a couple years ago that he felt he should retire. He didn't know if he had it anymore.
Yeah.
They said that he's the only adult in the organization, Charleston.
Yeah.
And so, but without those other 2 players, Charleston, think about it. Le'Veon Bell didn't play last year. They didn't make the playoffs.
Nope.
He didn't, Antonio Brown didn't play the last game, Charleston. They didn't make the playoffs.
No.
And so what are they going to do now that Ben Roethlisberger is on his own? And if they don't make the playoffs, you know who the blame is going to be?
The black
It's going to be
coach.
Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin's to blame. It's not Ben Roethlisberger because he's
Right.
the only adult there.
Yeah.
The head coach wasn't an adult. He couldn't handle the situation.
Yeah.
You know, Ben was the only adult in the house. The only guy that's had 2 sexual assault allegations
Yep.
as a professional quarterback in the NFL
Yep.
and still playing and not be prosecuted.
Yep.
And that's not me making that up. Everyone knows that.
You can Google
so if
it.
he's the adult in the room, Charlton, why is he doing those type of acts?
That's a good
And
point.
not only just the 2 guys that have left, Charlton, but other players that have left are now speaking up because of the vitriol that Ben Roethlisberger blasting teammates, saying, well, I won a couple of Super Bowls. Damn, I realized that he was the only guy on the Steelers, Charlton, that got a Super Bowl ring on those teams. I forgot all about that. He was playing offense and defense and special teams.
Yeah.
But, you know, nobody in the media is saying that Ben Roethlisberger should go out of Pittsburgh. But everybody now is trying to say, well, the Lakers should trade LeBron, get some assets for him, because they would be better off without him.
No.
Nobody's making that cry about the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger, who's been in the league just about 15 years also, Charlton.
Yeah.
Same amount of time that Eli Manning has been in the league, as well as Phillip Rivers.
Yep.
We don't hear this cry about Phillip Rivers being disenchanted or teammates being disenchanted with him.
No, you
He
don't.
carries himself as a professional athlete. We know that Eli has nothing left in the tank, but Ben Roethlisberger is blaming everybody else.
And you know what's interesting? Because this is real talk, and I think even dumb people, if you're a dumb person, you know if you're dumb, because you just know it. Look at your grades sometimes. If you get an F, that means you didn't study. If you get an A, it means you studied. It doesn't mean you're dumb and you can't change it. It just means you didn't do what you had to do. But when someone knows that a person, really, if you appoint someone on your team to be the leader, and they've been in so much trouble, but the TV companies hide it. If you're a man that hasn't been in trouble, how do you respect that person? And they're named the team leader and everybody else is called kids. I think if they really look at the root of the problem with the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's not the coach. Coach hasn't been in trouble. Coach hasn't been accused of assault. He hasn't. It's the person that they make the leader. And so you plant bad seeds, you're going to get bad crops, Big C. And we know that happens in all facets of life. I want to just look at something that happened in the world of Major League Baseball. The Chicago White Sox, they agreed to a deal with the top prospect and outfielder Elroy Jimenez, who's yet to play a day in the major leagues. They've agreed to a 6-year, $43 million contract. Now, he hasn't played a day in the league, but he's a prospect, Big C. Has money gone so much through the roof that even a prospect's getting $40 million? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the best player in their organization. He's better than anybody they have in the major leagues. You think about Charlton over the last 3 years. He's hit 319, 329, and 359, Charlton. He has 282 RBIs in 408 games that he's played, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he's hit 85 home runs. So when you talk about has the money gone too far, Charlton, that's a bargain. Think about if you take the top 4 players in Major League Baseball that have signed contracts in the recent months, Charlton.
Yeah.
That totals $1.25 billion for 4 players.
Wow.
$1.25 billion, Charlton, for 4 baseball players.
Yeah.
None of them pitchers, all of them are position players. If you compare that to the NFL, Charlton, it would take the top 20 quarterbacks, including your cousin in Minnesota,
He's not my cousin, Big Z.
and that money would still not equal those 4 baseball players, Charlton. It would be $50,000 short.
Wow.
If you took the top 20 paid quarterbacks in the NFL, with your cousin included,
He's not my
they would
cousin.
still end up $50,000 short of the 4 baseball players. So just 4.
Yeah.
You know, so when you think about Kyler Murray, what the hell wrong with you, boy?
Exactly.
Go back and pick up that bat again, okay? You know, this is what I would have been told as a kid, okay? What the hell wrong with you? You better pick that bat back up. You know, this kind of money, Charlton, you think about, you're talking about Jimenez, Elroy Jimenez with the White Sox.
Yeah.
The top prospect in that organization, Charlton. He's been with them now, I believe he's been in 3 years in the organization in Chicago, in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Never taken a swing of a bat in the major league.
Yeah.
But they give him that guaranteed $46 million, Charlton. Guaranteed.
This
okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Does Kyler Murray know that when he signed, when he decided to go to football, he thinks Arizona's going to pick him? You think he was thinking he's going to the Arizona Diamondbacks or the Cardinals? I just want to know because Because when you
He
mention,
might, being in Oklahoma, he might have got bit by a rattlesnake, Charlton, and for busy and stuff. So when he's making his decision,
Yeah.
But if I'm Tyler and I'm looking at what Jimenez is getting today, Charlton,
Yeah.
I gotta go say, hey, I love the hell out of football. I honestly do.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do anything to play football.
Yeah.
But I can't pass up $50 million guarantee.
No, you
I can't pass that up.
You
For
can't.
the hopes of going out there getting that second big contract, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because even if he gets to a second big contract in the NFL, Charlton, and it would probably be in the $150 million range, and
Yeah.
by that time, really $200 million.
Yeah.
But still, you get that in baseball, and you guaranteed your pension for life, Charlton.
Yeah.
One day in the majors. Jimenez has not even gotten to the majors, Charlton. He's guaranteed for life right now.
Yeah.
So let's imagine the kind of money that he's going to make when he gets to the major leagues, Charlton, and he comes in, and even to avoid arbitration with this young man, Charlton, they'll have to pay him $30 million once he gets to that point at the end of his 4-year contract.
Do you think one of the first? They talk about guys from the mothership going down and interviewing, Murray doing his tryout session. I think, and I'm not being flippant, athletes talk all the time. Athletes from many generations, many moons, as my Native American friends say. I think he should pick up the phone and try to talk to Mike Trout. He should try to talk to him. He should talk to Harper. He should talk to anybody that he can, anyone that plays baseball that's not even that good. Some of these guys are not Hall of Famers. Manny Machado's a good player. Hall of Famer, win something first. Mike Trout, will he be a Hall of Famer? I don't know. Win something first. Harper, will he be a Hall of Famer? I don't know. He hasn't won anything. But he should.
If any of those players, Charlton, are going to be Hall of Famers, it will be Mike Trout. The other players, I cannot say that. I don't believe that Harper will ever have a Hall of Fame credential, Charlton.
No.
He'll be a solid performer over the length of that contract that he has with Philadelphia. But he won't put up Hall of Fame numbers during that time, Charlton. He didn't put up Hall of Fame numbers while he was in Washington.
No,
Plus, you need to win in this day and time, Charlton.
Yeah. So if you're Murray, and I'm glad you said what you said. If anybody should be marching, they should be marching to Kyler Murray. Said, do you see what baseball players are getting? I know that Oklahoma gives a great education, but come on, man. What that good old boy that played for Ohio State back in the day? Come on, man. Chris Carter, come on, man. Big C, speaking of black men and opportunity on this day, and happy spring, everybody. On this day, Black History, March 20th, in 1950, Dr. Ralph Bunche, he received the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, for his work as a mediator in the Palestine crisis, and becomes the first African-American to be so honored. And you talk about the days of Jim Crow, and he was able to do this. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about, Charlton, that an African-American is the mediator in the Middle East, Charlton, from America, of all places. And, you think about what he was living with in his own country, in America, Charlton, how he was being oppressed and pushed aside and not given equal opportunity, even though, he had his doctorate in all, Charlton. But to become a mediator in the Middle East, something that a white American could not accomplish. But they listened to a black man. It shows that black men can, Charlton, bring peace. And this goes all the way back to the 50s. When you look at violence in America, Charlton, it wasn't started by African Americans.
No.
They just happened to learn from what was being done to them. That's what happened. They came to this country as peaceful people, Charlton. They were forced violently into slavery. They didn't have that violence in their life.
No.
And so they lived a life being abused, neglected, mistreated, Charlton, of violence. That's how they were reared, Charlton, for decades in this country, hundreds of years. And so when you wonder why black people act the way that they act, so many of them, Charlton, it's an innate trait that they've learned over decades of abuse. They've learned it. It's been taught to them. And they weren't taught that this is not the proper way to behave, Charlton. Even though we talk about it over and over, how education will change it, it becomes a genetic trait after a while, Charlton. And when you put people packed into these inner cities, Charlton, with no way out, no opportunity, and as you say, employment. You went through it like I went through it. You would show up someplace. I know when I was in college, and back then we only had a phone that we could call somebody on. And you show up and you say your name, they say you sound different over the phone. No, you look different in person. They couldn't say that. You look different than what you sounded on the phone. And people say, well, you sounded white. No, I don't know what white sounds like. I honestly don't. I don't know what black sounds like. I know what I sound like.
Yep.
But that's always a dog whistle that has been put out there for people back prior to the internet and putting your resume online with your photograph talking.
Yep.
You would have to call somebody to make an appointment, and you get there and they say you sounded different over the phone. My voice sounds the same.
Yeah, and that's why I really want to say to when I was in college, Big C, it happened to me too, but I don't know any of my white brethren that ever were incarcerated or even arrested over, illegal drugs. And that I saw more in college than I ever saw in my life. Mostly when I hung out with some of my white friends. They have their frat parties or their sorority parties. That's where I saw more drugs than I've ever saw in my life, but they were all white. And they know it's true. And not one of them was ever arrested or even questioned about it. I've known people to get pulled over while they were inebriated or intoxicated or high, and they were told, hey, well, go home, drive careful getting home. I know them personally, so I know what I'm saying is true. They weren't pulled out of their car, arrested, handcuffed, etc. So even though they're trying to legalize marijuana all over the country, and people are going to do what they want to do, whenever you have something in your system and your employer calls you in for a test, and they can do more of that too, it may cost you a lot more, especially as a person of color. The justice system doesn't seem to treat people fair.
I experienced that situation as a young man. I'm in high school, and I'm out with a friend of mine who was Caucasian. His dad was on the city council, though.
Yeah.
And we were out poaching on another man's property. We were hunting bucks.
Yeah.
And we're coming out of this field, and we're being chased by a guy in a pickup pulling a horse trailer.
Yeah.
And come find out, the guy in this pickup truck, Charlton, was a sheriff.
Yeah.
And, he looks in the back of the Jeep that we're in, and he sees the ducks back there, and it wasn't duck season.
Yeah.
And, he looks at me, and he said to me, boy, what's your name? And I told him my name.
Yeah.
And he asked the driver, what was his name? And Louis told him what his last name was.
Yeah.
And he asked him, was he Nick's son at that point?
Yeah.
He's like, yes. He said, what would your dad do to you if he knew you were out here?
Yeah.
You need to go home.
Yeah.
We were going to go to jail, Charlton.
Yep.
Until he said he was Nick's son.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the sheriff changed his tune at that point.
Yep.
Because he knew who his dad was. He was a wealthy farmer and a city councilman.
Yeah.
But all he had to do was say his last name, and he said, you're Nick's son.
Yeah.
I was a boy.
Yeah.
But the other kid was Nick's son. Louis was Nick's son.
Yeah.
But, and he was the one that took us out there in the Jeep, Charlton, from the ranch.
Yeah.
Driving recklessly and all these other things. We were scared.
Yeah.
Me and the other kid in the back. Mark was his name.
Yeah.
But, when Louis told him that Nick was his dad, it was all over. The criminal activity had ended at that point.
And I want everyone to know that, because if you don't have the kind of money or the name that can get you out, if you're a black boy, they're trying to fill these private prisons. They don't advertise them on TV, but that's where a lot of guys go. Big C, I want to just finish up two things. Major League Baseball. I said, I woke up this morning, I said, baseball again? Because it was a packed house. I said, who's packing out, spring baseball game? And it looked like 50,000 people. It was in Japan. It had the Seattle Mariners. They beat the Oakland Athletics 9-7. What a great environment. That tells me more that they want to expand the league. They may start going to Japan more as opposed to trying to go. Go to Europe too. Everybody loves Big C Sports. Grande do Deporte, Big C Sports, Latin America. But they had a sold-out crowd, and the crowd was like a playoff atmosphere. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they could have had this same type of atmosphere if they had this game down in Mexico.
Yeah.
But when you think about the Latin influence of the players, the reason why they had to sell out in Japan, because Ichiro, the Mariners had signed him for a swan song, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so this was like a coming home party for him going back to Japan.
Yeah.
They could have had this game in Puerto Rico, Charlton, that storm-ravaged island down as part of the U.S., then it could have used the infusion of major league money, Charlton, coming into that city to help the infrastructure down there.
Yeah.
But no, we go across the world, Charlton, where you're playing a game in the middle of the night in Japan, and you got to wake up here in America at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch the game.
Yeah.
So the only reason I knew I had to go to the bathroom, the TV was still on. So when we look at these situations, Charlton, does it really do anything for Major League Baseball?
Right.
You think about the Dodgers, they played over there in the game to open the season last year, and think about what torrid start they got off in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, Charlton.
Yeah.
Their pitchers' time clocks were all thrown off and everything. So, I mean, I don't think it really benefits Major League Baseball to go to Japan, Charlton. There's plenty of cities that you could have gone to Canada.
Yeah.
The Expos used to be in Montreal, Charlton. That would have been a great gift by Major League Baseball.
Yep.
Taking the opening game to Montreal, or even Vancouver. They had that beautiful dome stadium up there, Charlton.
Yeah.
We know the teams in Toronto, so you didn't have to go there. But Montreal would have been a great, olive leaf handed out by the Major League Baseball, and even Mexico City, Charlton. Or even, you think about Dominican or any of those cities, Charlton, with so many of the Latin American ball players from these South American countries, Charlton.
Yeah.
Why don't we be ambassadors for that?
I think that would make a lot of sense, Big C. Because it make a lot of sense, that means that may not happen. But it makes a lot of sense. Go back and have your tour so they can see it there too. And speaking of tour, I wanna close with some NBA basketball because I love NBA. It's like I'm hooked on it. You ever get hooked on something? Well, I know you got hooked on barbecue and pig feet and all that stuff. I don't know if it's healthy for you, but I know you good old Southern boys eat it a lot, Big C. But speaking of some pig feet, they could have used some pig feet in Sacramento last night, because when you think about what happened with the Kings, I know it's hard to win when you're a young team. But you look at Brooklyn. Brooklyn was down 28 points, and they came back in the second half to beat the Kings. And there are people saying again that fire the coach. Don't fire the coach. It was a loss, but at the same time, you got to look at what Brooklyn did. And coming back on the West Coast, they could have been blown out, but they fought their way back. It was one of the most disappointing losses I've ever seen for a team in the NBA. But Brooklyn, they're in the playoff hunt, and I think they're showing the difference between a team in the playoffs and a team thinking about getting there. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you got to give some praise to Nick Young last night, Charlton. He outscored the Sacramento Kings all by himself in the fourth quarter. Now, you also got to look. This is a player that the Lakers gave up on.
Yeah.
For Lonzo Ball. This kid now, Charlton, has become an all-star. Lonzo Ball is on injury reserve and almost on his way out of town also.
Yeah.
So who's the smart people in Los Angeles, Charlton? I give a lot of praise to Nick Young, Charlton, going to New Jersey, to a new place, Charlton.
Yeah.
Having a coach that believes in him. They're now in the sixth position in the Eastern Conference, Charlton.
Yeah.
Most likely to make the playoffs. Great move for the city of New York and the Nets, Charlton, to be back, to have some representation in the Big Apple.
Yeah.
And it shows that you don't have to play in Madison Square Garden to have a good time in New York.
You sure don't have to, Big C. When you think about Golden State, they climbed back into first place in the West with a big win over Minnesota after having a game they should have won when they lost that game to San Antonio. But Draymond Green, he just has to learn to pass the ball to the guys that can shoot and not let the ego come up and try to get a shot. But they turned it around. They put the big cat in check last night, and Golden State will most likely, win out. It's good to see them in Denver chasing each other down. But I want to bounce the ball down south. I look at Indiana. They're a top 3 or 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Clippers are hanging on to that number 8 spot. I mean, they in San Antonio are playing like they could be a 4 or 5 team. But the Clippers get the win in L.A., and all that talk about Doc Rivers maybe going to the Lakers, I think you talked about it yesterday. They have a good thing where they are with the Clippers, but they don't even sell out, and they're the best team in L.A. Your thought with the win over Indiana? Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, we're talking, they're a solid foundation, and all the talk about Doc Rivers going across the hallway to the Lakers, talking, I think that's just much bantering. And when we look at the media out there talking, everybody wants to guess and say, I got it right.
Yeah.
If you throw enough, start with an S. Oh,
snowball?
On the wall.
Okay.
Something will stick.
I was going to say snow cones.
Okay, yeah. Something will stick. So when you look at all the coaches, I think Doc right now might be the 7th or 8th coach that they said is going to the Lakers. I mean, we had Byron Scott, we've had Tyronn Lue, Charlton, we've had David Black, we've had anybody who could lace up a suit, Charlton.
Yeah.
That'll be the next coach of the Lakers. We've had Eric Spoelstra, everybody that LeBron liked and didn't like.
Yeah.
And all the talk now in the media is, LeBron is like, everybody's speaking for LeBron. They're saying, well, LeBron is saying, why does he have to listen to a guy that was drafted lower than him in the round and is so long in the NBA?
Yeah.
That's what they're saying, but this guy has as many championship rings as LeBron does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are we talking about? When you're in the media, Charlton, and you're dumb and you're trying to put together a story, you'll say everything. Because everybody that's saying Doc Rivers is coming to the Lakers are the same people that are saying LeBron should be traded.
Yeah.
That the Lakers should look into trading LeBron.
Yeah.
So what's the next story that they're going to come up with, okay?
Yeah.
They were the same people that said LeBron was orchestrating the trade for Anthony Davis. You know, got him to sign with his agent like Anthony Davis didn't have the wherewithal or the knowledge
Yeah.
to pick an agent that he wanted to be with, Charlton.
Yeah.
And Richie Paul only had one client, LeBron, which was wrong.
Yep.
Then they said LeBron should be traded. Now they're picking the coach that LeBron will have again because none of the guys would move across country, Charlton.
Yeah.
So let's take the guy and move him across the hallway.
That's funny, Big C. Last story, NBA scheduled tonight. Dallas at Portland, looking at Portland to win that. Very tough at home. Miami at San Antonio. Don't want to go against San Antonio, especially at home the way they're playing. Houston's at Memphis. Going with Houston. Washington at Chicago. That's a game that Washington really needs. Utah at New York. I like the Jazz in that. New Orleans at Orlando. Going to go with Orlando. Milwaukee at Cleveland. Going to go with Milwaukee. Couple of games I want to ask you about tonight. Big games in the East. Boston at Philadelphia. That game's already underway, Big C. And then we have Toronto coming south of the border at OKC. Give me your thoughts on those two big games, especially Boston and Philly. They're in position to see who's going to have the higher seed in the Eastern Conference. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't even know if higher seed right now means anything between those two teams, Charlton, because it's inevitable that they will not meet in the championship round of the Eastern Conference, Charlton.
Yeah.
But it's about establishing yourself if you do meet in the earlier round.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking at right now. And this is a team in Philadelphia that Boston eliminated last year in the playoffs.
Yep.
So Philadelphia is trying to return the favorite. We know the monster game that Embiid had a couple nights ago against Giannis. Can he stay in that mode, Charlton, and be a dominant player? He missed several games with a knee problem, but he got some rest and he's back healthy again.
Yeah, back healthy again. So Toronto, Oklahoma City, obviously Eastern Conference, Western Conference. There are people who were thinking about it maybe a week or two ago that OKC could be the biggest threat to Golden State in the Western Conference. I know you say seeding really doesn't matter right now. When you get into the NBA playoffs, it's about who wins, the 4 games in that 7-game series. Your thoughts on Toronto coming to OKC? Should be an OKC win, especially if George and Westbrook can put it together. Is it a bad thing if Toronto can't come and beat a team that's not even the top seed in the West? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, I think Toronto will be able to handle business. If we look at what OKC has done lately, Charlton, they haven't performed at a high level. Russell Westbrook has been struggling in shooting as of late. The rest of the team hasn't held up. Paul George had missed a few games, but he is back. But I like what Toronto is doing, Charlton. Yeah. They have a well-rounded lineup, Charlton. They're right behind Milwaukee in the East. And they're going to create havoc, and they're a hard matchup for OKC, Charlton.
Yeah.
Can they run with Toronto all night long?
That's a very good thing. Well, we look forward to it all. Again, Kellyanne Conway, you're not supposed to be kissing POTUS. And POTUS still has his issues with the late Senator McCain, who was, if he's not American, I don't know who is. Big C, back in the day. There was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we're almost at the point where we're going to get Major League Baseball starting for real. And, after that game in Japan last night, this morning, whatever it was, I was going to the bathroom. We got March Madness play-in games. We got 2 more games tonight, Charlton.
Yeah.
And then the real fun will begin on Thursday.
Well, speaking of fun, it's always fun, especially at Big C's Barbecue every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.